Welcome to the Home Service Expert, where each week, Tommy chats with world-class entrepreneurs and experts in various fields like marketing, sales, hiring, and leadership to find out what's really behind their success in business. Now, your host, the Home Service Millionaire, Tommy Mello.
So I'm sitting here with Michael E. Gerber, the man and the legend who wrote the original E-Myth, and then they partnered up with Ken Goodrich and wrote the one for HVAC and plumbing, which was great as well. This is the original book. It got wet for me, but the story goes like this. 2007, I started my business, and I met with my CPA, and he said, look, I want you to read this book for me. And this is the first book he handed me in 2007, and it changed my life. And so for our book club, I got to pick my book, and I said, you got to read the original E-Myth, well, revisited. So... And of course, this is where I take my notes at the house because I didn't have paper. And then I got a bunch of questions here. So I don't know where to start. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your journey and why you wrote the E-Myth. I know it's in the book, but it's a pleasure having you here. And Ken, as usual, that podcast we just did was killer. Really, really great. So,
well, if that was killer, then this is going to be gargantuan.
This is going to be better. Yeah. So go ahead and tell the audience.
Well, it's very, very simple. I say it's very simple. A friend of mine who owned a small advertising agency in Silicon Valley asked me if I'd come to meet with one of his clients. And he had a small high-tech company in Silicon Valley that he'd started up. He had a bunch of salespeople called engineering salespeople, and they couldn't convert the leads that would be being created for them through my friend's ad agency. So he said, Michael, you got to meet with this guy and talk to him and maybe help him understand what he had to do. And I said, I don't know anything about business. So what will I talk about? He said, don't worry, you know more than you think you do. And I said, well, if you want me to do it, I'll go do it. So I sit down with Bob, who owned this small high-tech firm, and I have no idea to this day what he sold. Ace, my friend and my brother-in-law, said, look, guys, spend an hour together. I'll be back to pick Michael up in an hour. So Bob is seeing Ace leave, and he's looking at me. He's saying, Michael, what do you know about my business? I said, nothing, Bob. And he looks a little disgusted, looks at his watch. We've got an hour to kill with this idiot who doesn't know anything about my business, who's going to tell me how to convert these leads for a product that we sell. So he says, well, if you don't know anything about my business, what do you know about my product? I said, less than that, Bob. So Gerber, you understand, if you don't know anything about my business, you don't know anything about my product, how can you possibly help me? I said, I haven't a clue. But Ace, my brother-in-law, who owns the ad agency who's creating the leads, thinks I can, and we got an hour to kill, so let's find out.
Okay.
So I started that conversation knowing I don't know anything about business. And in the process, I started asking him questions. And I keep on getting anecdotal answers. You understand? He didn't know anything either. Anecdotal answers, well, sort of, well, sort of, well, sort of, well, sort of. And the more and more I ask these questions, I realize what's missing in his business. He doesn't have a selling system.
Mm-hmm.
He was depending upon engineers who understand the product, who had sales experience, but he didn't have a selling system. So we came to the realization what was missing in his business was a selling system. But the more I realized that, I realized he didn't have a management system either. And the more I realized that, I realized he didn't have an operational system either, or a financial system either. So it was obvious this guy is winging it, doing it, as I ultimately said. And he needed to create a selling system at the heart of this. So he said, well, can you help me do that? I said, sure, Bob. Now you understand.
Yeah.
I'd never created a selling system. I just used them. And in the process, Ace comes back to pick me up. He said, what happened? I said, he just retained me as his consultant to teach him how to build a selling system. He said, but you don't know anything about his business, and you don't know. I said, Ace, I told you that before I came here, but I know more than I think I did. You were right. That was the beginning of E-Myth. That very experience was the beginning of E-Myth. And then there was another client in a furniture business, another client in an advertising business, another client, and on and on and on and on. And then I suddenly realized Ace didn't really buy what I was saying either in his advertising company. So I had to go out on my own. Ace brought in a guy to take over for me while I went off to start my own whatever lunacy.
Yeah.
And the guy, after spending a week with me there, watching what I did, he said, I want to go with you.
Wow.
And that guy was named Tom Travisano. And Tom and I went and created the very first business development firm in the world to become the very first business coaches on the planet. And the Michael Thomas Corporation was the foundation for everything we've learned and done since, with over 100,000 clients, with companies throughout the world, in quotes, doing the E-Myth, and now doing the Michael E. Gerber process for transforming the state of their business worldwide. And that's what Ken did.
Ken, you read the book how many times?
39.
39 times. I've read it. Probably a dozen. Over 2 million copies sold. Probably a lot more than that.
Millions more now.
Millions and millions more.
Millions and millions more.
I mean, it's affordable, and everybody needs to read it. If you haven't
Let me
read
hold that book up. You got to hold that book. Can you see
This
that
one?
book? Yeah. As weathered as this book is, and this book should be shining, it should be in gold, it should be in silver
I got
and
more of
platinum. Come on. As weathered as this book is, it's so critical for you to understand that at the heart of Ken's company, at the heart of Tommy's company, this book is alive and well, and it cost Ken less than $12. I'm sure when he bought it. How much?
Well, it was a gift. Free.
Well, there you go. It was a gift. He didn't have to pay for it.
Let me jump in on the 39 times so everybody understands. I didn't sit down carefully in my chair and at home and read it 39 times. What I did was, I was in a crisis situation in my business, and I had I think we told the story last time, but so I got a friend had given me the book, and when the crisis happened, I didn't leave the office that night, and I read it the first time, and I couldn't be like, how did this guy has been hiding in the bushes watching me, and he wrote a book after what I'm doing, but he disguised my name. Because how does he know all this stuff that I'm doing wrong? And so I read it, that's the first time. And then that was over the weekend. I read it 2 more times then. And then, I was a contractor, so I wore jeans, and I put it in my back pocket. And I carried it with me. And so, as I would get stuck or I would get frustrated or the things not working, I'd pull it out. And I'd just sit, find a quiet place, and I'd start reading again. And that's how, but I kept it with me for 3 years. So 39 times over 3 years, I guess once a month or so. But and that's what it was. It was kind of like my guiding light. And when I get stuck, like, what am I doing wrong here? And I would go find the section. I would read it again. Oh yeah, okay. I'm going to go do that.
That's what's happened millions upon millions millions of times.
I mean, I think my favorite, and there's so many good parts of the book, but I love it when he says, the fat guy and the skinny guy. And the skinny guy is the hardworking, wakes up early, and it changes everything. And then you got the fat guy, and the fat guy's in your ear, and that's the technician. You have the technician, the entrepreneur, and the manager. And the technician is who normally runs businesses. I'd say 95%, I don't know the statistic, but tons of these businesses are run by the technicians that says, I know how to do HVAC or plumbing or garage doors. I should go start a business. But they don't understand how much work and dedication. They don't have businesses, they have jobs.
Yep.
And then you talk a lot about the infancy, adolescence, and then the mature business. And most people get stuck in that infancy chase.
Yeah.
That stage of their company. So talk a little bit about the infancy stage, and you could talk a little bit about your business too, but just what you've seen over and over millions of times, and why they don't get out of this technician role.
Yeah, well, it's very, very simple. You understand, somebody's got a job, and everybody here who's listening to us knows what a job is. It's where you go to work every day. And you're doing it, busy, and you hate the job, and you hate your boss, and you hate the fact that you can't possibly control everything that happens, and you realize that if you were to go out and do this on your own, you could have all the money instead of a piece of the money. You could become your own boss instead of working for an idiot who's constantly asking to do stuff that you don't want to do, you don't want to think about, you don't want to hear about, etc., and so forth. And so you finally come to the conclusion that what I'm going to do is go out and create my own company. I'm going to go out and become my own landscape contractor. I'm going to become my own real estate agent. I'm going to become my own optometrist, my own dentist, etc. and so forth. And what do? You go to work in the company being the person you set out to be. Now you're the dentist and you're the owner of that dental practice.
Right.
Now you're working for a lunatic. And that lunatic has no idea how to run a successfully effective dental practice, or a door company, or a window company, or any kind of company whatsoever. And in Ken's case, it's a HVAC company. So he went to work in this company, doing it, installing HVAC, selling HVAC, cleaning up HVAC, repairing HVAC, all the stuff that a technician learns how to do. And your dad taught you really well how to do that.
Right.
But your dad didn't teach you how to run a business doing that.
My dad didn't know how to run a
He
business.
didn't. That's the point. So even worse, you got a father who doesn't know how to do it, and he's teaching you how to do what he doesn't know how to do. And that's the chaos. And they are everywhere you look, up and down the street of America, of the UK, of Australia, of Switzerland, everywhere in the world. It's a universal problem. We solved that problem by identifying what doesn't work in order to go to work on it to create what does work. And that means that ultimately when you discover that system at the very beginning, that system for doing what you're setting out to do, you can remove yourself from that system while the system works. And that's why Tommy Mello isn't sitting here doing a garage door. It's because it does the garage door. Tommy doesn't. Tommy invents a company that does the garage door. And that company that does the garage door is the system that Tommy has invented. By reading the E-Myth Revisited, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it. And that's why Tommy, by the way, is going to become my co-author for the E-Myth Garage Door Company.
Yes, absolutely.
Why most garage door companies suck big time and what to do about it.
Yeah, you're right.
You got it.
You know, Ken, you can talk a little bit. This is great. I love this. I got so many more. Hopefully, this one's going to go a little long, I think. But Ken, you started out. You went through everything. You've had your battles. You had the IRS come after you. You had you didn't have a pot to piss in, and now you've flipped how many companies?
So I've monetized 24 businesses so far.
24 businesses, and you just said you were at the Super Bowl and hurt your back because you were on a yacht.
Can I just interject a point?
Yeah.
Because you said something and he said something, and I don't think anybody sitting here listening knows what Ken means when he says I monetized 24 businesses. So I think we got to get really clear about what Ken means when he says I monetized 24 businesses. Because for them to appreciate what that means, and that means something immensely significant, you got to understand exactly what Ken is talking. Can you tell them what you're talking about? How do you monetize a business?
Well, monetize is that I either sold some or all of the business for a significant profit, a infinite amount of return on my investment.
So wait a second, do you get what now we'll put it into really easy language. I sold 24 companies for significantly more than they cost me to create. Significantly more than they cost me to create. That's what Ken said. Now, he did that in the beginning. Now he's doing that double, triple, quadruple today. What's it worth today?
Well, my goal is to take my latest venture and monetize it for $500 million.
There you go.
500 million in the next 24 months.
Did you get that? Did you all get that? Did
And
you
I-
get that?
500 million. So what? Let me ask you this. So if I reverse that, I'm going to take 500 million, and I'm going to use a simple multiple of 10. So you build. So basically, you need to do $50 million profit, but you're going to get a higher multiple than that at those numbers.
Yeah.
But so 50 million profit. So if you're at 20%, times it by 5, you're doing 250 million to become a $500 million company. Now that might not make sense, but basically all I did was take your number. You're getting a multiple that we talk about, and so 250 million, and you got a path to get there. And what's nice is what I love about this is it's arbitrage. You buy a company, and you just told me you're getting to put an LOI, letter of intent, on another business. We talked 2 dates ago, and you just go in, give them your systems, and it's all of a sudden worth 12 to 15 times what you paid 3 times for it. Isn't that genius? It's like I'm glad I'm 36. I wish I learned when I was 20 how this is done.
Let me tell you how I really got here, though. See, this is what I want everybody to understand. I had a tragic event in the business. It fell apart, and I had to go put it back together. I got the book. I studied the book. I lived the book. I internalized the book. I implemented the book religiously. And I turned the family business around. My dad had passed away at 25. When I was 25, I bought the remains of the business from my mom. I played with it for 2 years, thought I was a big shot businessman. Nosedived, got the book, worked it out, and I couldn't leave the business. I couldn't quit because, one, I owed the IRS, and the IRS, they're with you forever to death do us part, right?
Right.
So I had to have some vehicle to pay these hundreds of thousands of dollars back to them, and it wouldn't be a job, right? And the second thing was I couldn't bear to go tell my mom that I blew the family business that had supported us for 25 years in 2 years, and I blew it. I couldn't go bear to tell her that. So I had 2 real motivations to get through it. And I did it, and I got through it by implementing the systems in the book. And then I started buying broken companies. A guy wanted to retire, so I bought him. I started putting the systems in.
Yeah, but you monetized the first one.
No, I put 3 together. That was my first deal.
Okay.
So I bought a broken one. You know why? Because I'm a business turnaround expert. Because I fucked up my own business so bad and figured out how to get out of it. Now I can fix any. And so I had 3 of them at that time, and then I sold those 3 in '97. But really, that's how it came about. Now we have tightened up our systems. We walk in, we have our checklist, we buy a broken business. And listen, I'm noted for buying broken businesses, but let's face it, they're all pretty much broken. I mean, there's the 3% that are really performing well and they don't touch them and they're doing well. But there's 97% of the time they're broken, they're not working well, they're headed for a crash, or they're just plain bleeding. And so so we focus on that because we get the best value. When I bought Gettle, which Gettle at the time was a 75-year-old brand, it was a kind of an iconic brand at one time. At one time, they were the largest residential HVAC contractor in the country. And, they had fallen on hard times. They were losing $250,000 a month.
Oh, $3 million.
And they no one would buy it because they didn't want to catch the falling knife.
Right.
So I had some equity in the company that owned it. I said, let me just give you the equity back and I'll take that. And they're like, where do I sign?
Wow.
And so I took the company and I took our systems, and month 1, break even. And we went on from there. This year, Gettle, we started the year before I bought it, did 11 million in sales, lost 3 million. Last year we did 101 million, made a lot.
Yeah, get that. I mean, really get that. Everybody listening to this, really get that.
Well, we made 9-figure profits.
Yeah, I mean, really get that. Here, Ken has became the most avid student.
Wait. 8-figure profits, sorry.
8-figure.
I was doing the math.
And my book wasn't just smoke and mirrors. You understand? It was the exact opposite of smoke and mirrors. Every book on the planet is smoke and mirrors. This book is anything but smoke and mirrors. This book got to the heart of what was missing in Ken's company. And the minute Ken got a taste of that, and he got a taste of that as he read it, now hear me, I'm not promoting the book. Guys, I'm 83. I'm beyond promoting the book, but I'm promoting your life. Do you hear me? I'm promoting your lives. Every single one of you. When you awaken the entrepreneur within you and you follow a process that is religiously, absolutely replicable in every single kind of commercial, residential, whatever kind of company on the planet selling any kind of product or service on the planet, and we've done every one of them. When you understand that I can turn to Ken and I can say, Ken, you got the secret. It's in the book. Follow the book to the letter. And he's able to do that. Suddenly you understand why Ken, being the student that Ken has been over all these years, doing it, creating a company that is just absolutely transformational on the face of it. You begin to understand why we're so passionate about it. Why I can still be passionate at 83 going on 84, not just about Ken, but about the thousands upon thousands of guys like Tommy, who've literally taken this and begun to do it earnestly, as though their lives depended upon it, and they do. Then you can understand why I'm so passionate about it.
By the way, let me throw this one point. So I clearly know, like when I talk to and mentor lots of guys in the industry, and they come to my office, and I'm certain that we see, I don't know, maybe a couple hundred contractors come through our offices every single year, and we share what we're doing and we share ideas. But I know when you're strong. I know what it's like. I've lived it. I felt it. And so, there's things that I had to do to discipline myself to implement that book. Like I had to take drastic measures. Like I got a mirror and I put it on the outside wall at my office door. And I made myself, every time I left of the day, I'd have to look in the mirror at myself and say, did you improve the business today, or did you prolong the agony? Did you improve the business today, or did you prolong the agony? Because it is agony. And, at first, I prolonged the agony. I got the book. I looked at some more of the book. I thought about it. I internalized. I left. And every day I kept score, and it was more prolonging the agony to begin, and then the improving the business came along, and more till I was just every day, my whole role was dedicated to improving the business, to improving the systems. And so that's how I got through that. Because a lot of people take the book and they read the book, but then they
don't do anything with it.
They don't do the book
with it. They don't. Nobody. There's very few people that read a book and do anything with it. I think, it was on a TV show, and they said the last one we did was KFC, And I said, Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's interesting. They said, they open up a new store every 4 hours. And I said, okay, what do I need to do to make A1 open up a new market every single month? And right now we're opening up in Boise, North Carolina. We're opening up, and you grow through acquisitions. I think that's the best way to grow. And that's what I'm going for eventually, to find a broken business. One of the businesses I'm looking at isn't broken. He said he does 25%. He did $4 million last year. I just talked to him today. Wow. So I'm in these guys' ear all the time going, man, you're 60 and a half years old.
Hey, you don't have to buy a broken business. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of them out there. And, when I first got started, I didn't have any money. And so the broken businesses were easier to cut creative deals with than buying a real business that you're buying for multiple earnings and, 7-figure price tags, right? So I learned this crafty way of buying just out of necessity.
Yeah, but you understand also that KFC doesn't buy broken business.
They just start. They got to.
Well, yeah, they've got a space.
Yeah,
they're going to put a business on. You understand? It's like this little machine they're putting on that machine, and what does it do? It sells and makes and doing. What
McDonald's,
it does.
McDonald's
right,
in the
it's
book.
KFC.
Read all about McDonald's.
KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is who we are. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is who we are. We're not anything but who we are. We're not this. We're not that. We're not the other. This is who we are. It's the McDonald's model. So how do you create 37,642 turnkey hamburger machines throughout the world? You do it the right way, one way, this way, no other way. This is how we do it.
McDonald's fries are not soggy fries.
You got it.
It's in the book. See?
Hey, it's very clear though when you walk through Tommy's business, this is an E-Myth built business, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I already
Very
told
clear.
him he's the E-Myth.
Garage door.
Well,
Yeah, garage door.
The deal is I haven't been in town the last 3 months. In and out of town, mostly for business stuff, but I'm not sitting there managing anybody, calling, asking them why. No trucks are breaking down. There's GPS. There's systems in place that we set a record. 2 days ago, we set a record in service. We broke 6 figures in service, which I was really proud of.
Wow.
First time. Just in service, not including door sales. So
in a day?
In a day, yeah.
Wow.
So one of the things I'm looking at is you go into a business, and you've gotten into more broken businesses than probably anybody is. Everybody goes, where do I start? And I think for me, I want to look at, is there an organizational chart? Is there any type of manuals or handbooks for what people are supposed to be doing and how do they win the game?
That's not where you start.
You tell me. This is interesting because I want to hear both.
You start with a blank piece of paper and beginner's mind.
Okay.
Now hear me. Until you built your franchise model. Now, everybody's listening. They're thinking, well, I don't want a franchise. I don't want a franchise. What you got to understand is every single great company, whether that be Apple, whether that be Microsoft,
General Motors, all of them, they're franchise
is
models.
a turnkey franchise model. Because if it ain't a turnkey franchise model, you can't grow it. You cannot grow it with any degree of certainty. So until you've created a turnkey system, a turnkey methodology, lead generation, lead conversion, client fulfillment, the three-legged stool of every great company, you can't possibly grow it with any certainty whatsoever that you're going to be able to produce the result that you're setting out to produce. That's what Ken is able to do. You understand, when Ken buys a broken business, he walks into that broken business absolutely knowing what he's going to end up producing in the next 60 days, 90 days. He's going to turn that company around into his company. You understand? Right now it's a blank piece of paper. He doesn't care what they do. He doesn't care how they do it because he's not going to go in and fiddle and faddle with whatever they think they're doing. That's how they got broken. He's going to go in, clean the slate, and start anew. And that anew will turn that company to 12 times results in a year. Think about that. Think of the miracle of that. So Ken's got his own little McDonald's franchise that Ken has built, perfected to the point where he's continually able to lay it down in a blank piece of paper, ripping away everything everybody else has done to turn his little business into a money machine. And that's what he's able to do.
You know what's funny? Here's what's funny. 100% of the time, every broken business that I have fixed and turned around, the old owner, through gossip or to my face, tell me that I cheated them, that I underpaid them because look how good that business was that they had built. And I always say, it wasn't that good before I showed up. But that's human nature.
Yeah. You bought that business, and look what you made from that business. And Ken saying, I stripped the sucker clean of all the garbage you had inside of it so I could create a pristine, perfectly operating system that the people were proud to be a part of now. A new company completely. So when I say a blank piece of paper in beginner's mind, you understand that's literally what Ken does. Ken isn't buying a company, he's buying a location. That's all he's doing. He's buying a location in a market he wishes to pursue and doing that in a way that has worked so stunningly well for him. At least that's my version of it.
Well, I will say yes for the most part. I've recently bought 2 companies, one in Simi Valley and one in San Antonio, that have good foundations and I have good operators. And, you know, we just, when I look at it, there's just a few little tweaks that need to be done to get it really ginning. And then they're plumbing companies, so we'll add our air conditioning brand together. That's where I'm going to get a lift on those. And what I like about that strategy is I'm coming in with big bases. I'm coming in with $12 million bases to start. I increase that base up to 18 immediately, and then I add my 18 to $20 million of air conditioning. Now I have a foothold in a market.
Yep, got it.
Yeah, plus one of the things that I look for, I'm looking at 7 businesses right now. And the guy that I talked to today said, I spent under 2% last year. I still did $4 million on marketing. So I said, he's making his phone ring because he's been there for 35 years. So how, there's goodwill there that says you're going to get 15 to 20 leads a day because you've got a great name. But I don't think, he goes, well, one thing, I don't want my guys selling too much. And I go, what's too much selling if they need parts? I don't agree with that. Some people have this negative connotation. Sales are bad. Don't do sales. And I'm like, that's because you live at your house. You work from your home. Your wife works for you. Your son does the stuff. Your daughter answers the phones. You don't have insurance. The business fails when you leave, and you don't have a company. It's so hard to tell people that want to sell their business for 30 years later that all I want to buy is your phone number. Nothing else. You haven't built anything. You probably had to do this a lot. Is your business? I could pay you $10,000 for your phone number.
Yeah, I learned a long time ago. Like I have all the strategies for acquisitions, and one day we should probably do one of these podcasts and talk specifics, the details of acquiring companies, home service
Acquisitions.
Yeah, because
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me make a suggestion. You don't do a podcast on it. What I'm going to make the suggestion is you teach him how to do it. Because if you teach him what you know about acquisitions, you're going to blow his mind. You're going to blow his mind. You're going to do for him what I did for you in just writing that book.
Yeah.
And in the process, you're going to teach him something he doesn't know. I absolutely know that's true. Yeah. And then you can do a podcast out of it after he does it, and then he can report about how he's tripled his results in a period of only 6 weeks just because he sat down with Ken Goodrich and learned the secret underlying how you acquire companies.
Well, it's so funny because people say, why are you doing a podcast? Why do you share your secrets? What's the point? And I say, look, these people are calling me up saying, I like you and I want to sell to you because you're a good person. You're a good businessman and you treat your employees like family. And they say, I want my business that I work long and hard for to have a good home. So I think the podcast has given me a little bit better of an opportunity to reach out to business owners that might be failing.
Well, same situation. My wife, it's infuriated her for our whole 30 years of marriage. Why do you tell people all your secrets? Why do they come to the office? Why do they give them their forms? I'm like, well, one, they're probably never going to use them anyway. They read the book, they don't do it. But number two, It's because, one, I want to network. Like, it's a networking thing, so that, one day we may collaborate. One day you might want to sell the business, all those sorts of things. And three, I just like giving back. But back to your other thing you said about just buying the phone number. Here's a little nugget for you. I learned a long time ago. People wonder, like, well, how do you get all the businesses to buy? Like, I'd go in, I'm always the ones everyone kind of wanted. I'm the ones who got them. And I certainly don't overpay. But it's because I give the guy across the table the respect he deserves, because I have been in his seat. It's just that I was able to evolve out of the seat he's in early on. But I know the agony that he's in and he's been through for 10, 15, 20 years. And so I don't disrespect him by saying anything negative about his business.
Of course.
So when you say, like, for instance, I can only buy your phone number. What do you want? What do you want to sell? Most of them say, I don't want to worry about it. One transaction, you take my dirty
Building the trucks,
whatever. Are like, done. We'll do it like that. Now, in my mind, I know day one, those dirty trucks are gone. We're moving out of that building. That inventory is in the trash. But I'm not telling him that, because we all are kind of in this together, right? We're business people. We're all in this struggle, and so honor and respect what people are going through. And if you do that, you'll have a much better connection to make the deals.
Yep.
It's a great piece of advice.
And that's also true of the work we've done over these 40 years, 43 years to this date. The small business owners that come to us and the people who have read the E-Myth, done the E-Myth, the people we have coached in the process, and just multiples of businesses in 145 countries.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's universal. This is not just something that you do in Phoenix or in wherever. But these people come with pain. And the pain is so absolutely clear on their faces. They're so obliterated by the impact of the decisions they've made. They don't feel stupid necessarily. They just feel like they're lost. They haven't a clue. How could it be so difficult to do what I set out to do? And when we're able to show them the difference between what they have learned how to do and what they failed to learn how to do, it just shocks them. I mean, it literally shocks them. I know it shocked Ken. I wasn't there when it happened, but you understand, he was in tremendous pain. What to do? And then he reads a book that tells him exactly what to do, the first step, the second step, the third step. You understand? 7 steps of process that anybody can apply to do what Ken has done, that you have done. 7 essential
disciplines for building a company. When we were upstairs in my book club, we were reading your book, and we go and discuss what we thought about after, I think, the 3rd chapter. We read it in 4 phases, and then we had a meeting about it. Luke had his own company beforehand. He sold to me. Bruce had his own t-shirt company. We had about 4 people there that had their own company, and they said, well, why are you making us read this book? It seems like it's for an owner. I said, you guys are pretty much mini owners in the company. You own a division, they each owned a division, but they said to me, if I had this book when I was in business, it would have been completely different, because I just owned a job. And I can't imagine. So many people are in the same shoes. I mean, a lot of the listeners of the podcast, they say, you got to listen to the book. I listened to it. I've read it. I've got every single thing of the different books that you put out. And I know you're coming out with a lot of new. You're working on another book, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, I'm working on a new book all the time, but the last book we published was Ken's book.
Right.
But that book is one of a series of books. And those series of books are what we call vertical books. So hold up that book. That's the E-Myth HVAC Contractor, in which Ken is the co-author. I'm the author. In that book, I'm the generalist. Ken is the specialist. So I write in that book a chapter on marketing, and then Ken writes a book on the very same a chapter on the very same subject following my chapter. But I'm the generalist.
Right, and how I applied what he
How he
said.
applied
You're
what
tactical, he's strategy.
You
Right.
got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So understand what happens then with these books, like the book you're going to do.
Yeah.
What happens with these books is we are now telling a profound story for every single vertical market on the planet. And there are 322 vertical markets we're going to publish a book for. That means we're going to have 322 co-authors who've actually done the E-Myth in exactly the way I've described it in all my other books to build a practice that works absolutely every single time that they can then replicate. So you understand what Ken did is he studied my book, The E-Myth Revisited. We held that up and then did that book, which enabled him to become the co-author, the one HVAC contractor in the world to write that vertical book with me.
Hey, so where does my vertical rank in your vertical list?
Number one.
Where does it rank? Now, what do you mean by where does it rank?
Well, from your purview, from your view as being the most pure E-Myth.
Well, let me say that I'm not going to give you a ranking.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you a ranking because that if I gave you a ranking and you want to be number one, if I gave you that ranking, then what does my E-Myth real estate agent
guy
say?
Yeah, okay.
And what does my E-Myth real estate investor say? And what does my E-Myth, et cetera, and so forth? So I'm not going to give you a ranking, but let me tell you what my true ranking is of you.
Okay.
You're the best student I've ever had. Let me put it that way. You're the best student I've ever had. And you're the best student I've ever had because I never met you until after you'd done what you'd done with the E-Myth. And you told me stories about what you'd done with the E-Myth, in the application of it, in the creation of your, I'll call, practice. That's the first operating system that you developed. And then you applied it and applied it and applied it. But you did it, and you use this word religiously. So understand you did it religiously. Lots of people do it, but not religiously. And when you told me I've read your book 39 times, and you didn't say 39 freaking times, you said 39 times, nobody has ever said that to me before. So understand, to me, what that says is you have been an absolutely faithful and religious student to the mindset and capability that I've written about and proven so well again and again and again and again.
Or I have a reading retention problem. No, but thank you very much. I really appreciate
but hear
that.
me.
That's an honor to hear that. Thank you very much.
But hear me. You made light of it. Don't make light of it.
I'm not.
Okay, please don't make light of it.
No, I appreciate
because
it.
I don't. And when I say it with the deepest sincerity. And I'm saying to everyone out there, if you had just a bit of Ken's tenacity and perseverance and ability to truly see the genius in that book, not in me, in that book, in that process, you would understand, just like Tommy Mello does, that your whole world depends upon it. Your entire world depends upon it. I'm talking about your life depends upon it.
So one of the things, and I'm really loud, so that's good. I love the story in the book that there's this guy who goes to a hotel. And he wakes up and it's the coffee he wants. He's got the Wall Street Journal. Everything's perfect. There's roses in there. He loves white roses, whatever. And he goes to the manager and he says, "How did you guys do this?" And he said, "Well, you filled out a questionnaire. We've got this book, and it's a system. Everything's systems." And when you really think McDonald's, I love McDonald's when I'm in China. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Canada. I've been to all these countries, and I love McDonald's because I know what I'm going to get.
Right.
I don't love McDonald's, but I just know this is what a burger, this is a Big Mac. And the fries, I know that the fries are just salted a certain way. And what I love about it is to apply that to my business. Now, it's not easy in the home service business because we got a lot of other factors. But in your book, you said, the world is a treasure hunt for an entrepreneur. And now I feel like it's a treasure hunt. Now I'm like, where are we going? How are we going to get to Canada? Australia's looking good. I mean, I'm going to be by far the largest company in North America. It's not even a question. It's happening right now. We're going in. We're going to be in 13 states within the next 2 months. And I'm just going to blow it up. I talked to a company that's bigger than me, and I said, I want to buy your company. I told him that today. He said, I want to sell you certain markets. That's what he said. And we go and we plug and play now. The one thing that I think most people leave out is they build these great systems, but they don't build systems to find great people. So we got a system to find, train, orient, and retain great people. And that's the hardest part. That's what you hear these days. I could use 3 employees right now. I got more business than I can handle. The best economy that I've ever lived in the last 60 years. It's the best economy. So people are saying, how do we get great people? And I'd love to hear your guys' take on that, because people are the hardest thing. But I say it's my process and my system to get the people. I'm not lucky. I'm always networking. People say always be closing. I say always be recruiting. So
let me respond to the question.
Sure.
And it's the system stupid.
It's the system.
So I understand it's the system stupid. And so you're inviting people to come to your company to talk about an opportunity that they don't have currently. Everybody wants an opportunity. Everybody believes they're selling an opportunity, except most companies don't believe they are. They're selling a job. You're not selling a job, you're selling an opportunity. What's the opportunity? Let me tell you the story of my company. Let me tell you how I started my company. Let me tell you what I learned as I started my company. Let me tell you why that's important. So understand, every single recruitment process starts with a story. A story. But a story that has heart. Because everybody has bullshit stories, but not real stories. So every single person I ever hired, from the very first day one, I told a story. Hi, I'm Michael E. Gerber. You don't know me. In fact, most people don't. But the fact of the matter, you will, if you survive this first 30 minutes. In the first 30 minutes, I'm going to tell you the story of my life and why it's the most important story you've ever heard in your life. And by the end of this 30 minutes, you're going to decide whether or not you want to go to the next step in the process. I'm not going to decide that for you. But in truth, you're going to decide that. And if you decide, yes, you want to go to the next step in the process, then you're going to tell me your story. And please, tell me the story in the same way I told you mine. Because if you don't, you won't make it to the third step in the process. And it's like that. You follow me?
Yeah. No,
so you imagine doing that. You can imagine doing that. Can you imagine Ken doing that? But can you imagine Ken now turning to his ex-colonel from the Air Force or the Army who's leading his company, and that colonel now is telling the story of how he came to meet Ken and why it was so different for him than other places he's gone in this motley place called America, where there is no discipline, where there are no warriors, where most people haven't a clue what it means to come out of the military, looking for the second stage of your life that has meaning. So you understand how rich the stories can be. And they're not fabricated stories. That's really the story. You understand? Ken tells the story about what he just did. He tells it here and people get fascinated by it because Ken's a real guy and you're a real guy and you're saying, this is what I'm going to do. And it's bigger than life. But you understand it's because your passion is bigger than life. Your conviction is bigger than life. And I'm saying that's true of every human being on the planet. Once they understand that they can be more than real life because they're now in the process of working with somebody who's bigger than life. Holy moly. What an extraordinary thing to understand.
Yeah.
The influence you have, the influence you have, the influence I have.
Yeah.
To become a thought leader among people who have never been inspired to go beyond the ordinary, doing it, that is just deadening to life source that in fact every single one of us are looking for.
Like meaning. You're 83 and you're still kicking butt at this stuff. So you got all these books out. What'd you say, 347 you're putting out? So you're doing all these books, co-author. You're the main author, getting other co-authors. You're talking on stage a lot. Tomorrow you're talking on stage. You're putting out new books. I mean, what's the... Obviously, the plan is to share the message with everybody.
Let me tell you what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you the heart of it. People ask me, so why do you do this? Well, I said why I did this when I started my first company. That was the Michael Thomas Corporation in 1977. Hear me, 1977. That's a long freaking time ago. When I started that company, Tom and I sat down, and it took us maybe 3 months. We had to answer the question, why are we doing this? What are we really intending to do here? So it became very clear to me 4 things. I had a dream, I had a vision, I had a purpose, and I had a mission. My dream then, in 1977, literally word for word, was to transform the state of small business worldwide. That's why we started the Michael Thomas Corporation, to transform the state of small business worldwide. Now, if you ask me, well, what does that look like? What does that feel like? I could tell you all of that. But we didn't need all of that, because the great result we were there to produce was to transform the state of small business worldwide. I had a vision. And my vision then in 1977 was to invent the McDonald's of small business consulting services. The McDonald's of small business consulting services, which means what? Turnkey. I had a purpose in 1977. My purpose was that every single small business owner who was attracted to what we do, our paradigm, could become as successful as a McDonald's franchisee or even a McDonald's franchisor. And to end that process, I had a mission. And my mission was to invent the business development system that was critical for me to realize my dream, my vision, and my purpose. You get that?
Yes.
The 4 personalities within an entrepreneur: the dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader. The dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader. Because if any entrepreneur is absent any one of those roles, they're lost. So Ken is a dreamer, a thinker, a storyteller, and a leader. You're a dreamer, a thinker, a storyteller, and a leader. And you've got to be explicit about what that is to transform the state of garage doors everywhere in the world. Are you shitting me? How do you do that? By having a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission. The McDonald's of. Why the McDonald's of? Because it's the most successful small business in the world. Today, all those years later, and the sucker was 52 years old, Ray Kroc, when he started it. When he started McDonald's, he was 52.
Hey, tell him the one interesting thing you said to me, or one of the interesting things you said to me in the past. You talk about the movie The Founder, and everybody who has a business should watch The Founder.
I love The Founder where he says they'll stick a hose in your mouth when you're drowning. But go ahead.
So, and look at The Founder for what. Look at it from the business building.
You're talking
about they're doing the chalk.
The movie.
Yeah,
the movie.
Chalk outside.
But
yeah,
you told me one time, what do you believe the very best part of that movie was? And then you told me. Do you remember this conversation?
No, but I know exactly what I would say today.
All right, go ahead.
If you asked me.
Go ahead.
But I said the guy who made that movie actually hated Ray Kroc. The guy who created The Founder, the movie, hated Ray Kroc. He demeaned Ray Kroc. He diminished Ray Kroc. He made Ray Kroc a greedy guy who took this great opportunity these McDonald brothers had, and then he seduced them into losing their business. Exactly the opposite of what he did at 52 years of age. He created a stunning, stunning system. The best part of that movie, however, was when the McDonald brothers took out a whole, a basketball court.
Yeah, that's what the chalk. And they chalked it.
They chalked out that sucker to the point that you could see every piece moving in every direction, connected in a universal system. That universal system, chalked out, you understand, is something no business owner has ever done. No business owner ever thought of doing. And they watch that movie and they don't even understand it. You follow me?
Yeah.
Ray Kroc was a genius. Ray Kroc, at 52 freaking years old, he walked over and saw that McDonald's hamburger stand and he said, my God. And they've only got a couple of locations.
Yeah.
There are tens of thousands of these waiting to be built. And that's what he did.
Well, you did the same thing, like your trucks. Like, you have the best home service trucks that I've ever seen. And I've seen thousands of them, right? But the way, tell us how you put that together, because this little place is where the screws go. This little place is where these rods go, and this is, everything fits. That is a rolling garage door.
It's a machine. And everybody that looks at my truck, so I said originally, I'm sick of going to wrap companies, so I bought my own wrap company. I got my own printer, my own plotter, my own laminator. And now we've got skilled guys doing it. So I buy all these trucks from Enterprise. They're all the same. There's not one different. And then we weld the container in the back. We weld these. We get them powder coated. Everything's the same. Everything's got a spot in the trucks. There's a light. There's a thing so you can charge your batteries. There's the iPad holder. And the thing is I could go in to they're rolling chassis of a garage door company. And the smartest thing I did was last year I went to my manufacturer and I said, I don't want to be in the inventory business anymore. I want you to carry all the inventory from all my different manufacturers. You've got these huge warehouses. You're going to buy it and you're going to sell it back to me. And they said, okay. I had to go to 3 of them. And they finally said, okay, so I could go into any city with no warehouses, with no inventory, except for the vans. And I go pick them up. And they get auto stuff from Service Titan. And do you know how great it is to be able to go to any city? Well, there's about 180 locations I could go to. The largest distribution center of residential garage doors in the world. And you might think garage doors, but I say it's 40% of your home's curb appeal. It's the smile of your home. It's the best. In Remodel Magazine, it's the #1 return on investment. And that's what I always tell my guys is this is an investment. This is what, when I'm talking to a homeowner, this is what you use every day. You don't use your front door, you use your garage. This is where you park your car. So I'm pretty passionate about garage doors. I love garage doors. And I just see this huge void. The garage door industry is where the HVAC was in 1980. And that's what's so great. There's all these guys out there that are trying to do it, but they don't have a system at all. They don't have any. They say, and they're so content.
But did you hear what you said? I mean, no, even more, did you feel what you said?
Yeah,
of course you do. But you feel what you said. Nobody loves garage doors more than I do, is what you're saying. And I'm saying nobody loved McDonald's hamburger more than he did. You understand? I mean, they fall in love with what they do. They're passionate about what they do. They see a miracle in a garage door. They see a movie in a garage door, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Without that, what's the miracle?
Yeah.
You follow me?
Hey, let me jump in on that point.
Yes.
So we talked about your passion for garage doors, right? So recently, the last year or so, I came in contact with the new president of a company that I had sold a number of businesses to, fixed some companies for a fee. I was involved with them for a number of years, maybe 8 years of my total career. But at first, that was the company that I was selling most of my businesses to. I'm not going to name the name. And so I meet the new president. The new president is a nice guy, but he was very credentialed. He worked for, I think he worked for GE, and he had an Ivy League degree and blah, blah, blah. And he was, a very polished guy. And so I started chatting with him. I said, hey, listen, I hope you don't mind this, but let me throw this at you. And maybe, because I have a passion for the company, because I spent a lot of time there. I was in the middle of it. And this is something that I was always passionate, but I couldn't get it there because I didn't have the role, or maybe I wasn't big enough. But you know why that company's not a $3 billion company and completely owns the space? And he says, why? And I said, because there's no one at the top that is passionate about the work you do. There's no one at the top that knows it and lives it and understands the intricacies of that business and are creating it, like a Steve Jobs who knew the details of how this machine worked. I said, all the time that I've been there, ever since it's been there, everyone at the top has the mindset of, let's get some lipstick, let's put some lipstick on this pig and sell it. And that's the mindset of the company, which translates into the culture of the company, right? Everything's based on that. There's none of this passion. There's no story to the business. Now, he didn't get it, or he took offense to it, and he said, well, maybe I should just quit then. I mean, that was his comeback.
Right.
Maybe I should, well, maybe.
That's a different version of up yours.
Yeah, well,
right.
maybe you should, but because I clearly know now, I mean, we go on this journey, like I've clearly got my mind, and I've accomplished everything I put in my mind. I'm going to pull another $500 million off this company. And I clearly see now how to get it to $1 billion company. And it's really about staying back. Don't get caught up in the fray. Don't get caught up in the noise every single day. You stay back, and you're a business builder.
Yep.
You're a business builder.
Yeah.
Well,
let me.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
But you understand you've already done it. In short, you've already done that sweat equity thing that is so critical to investing yourself in the detail of every single part and parcel of that small company. So you've taken that small company and scaled it. Now everybody's using that language, you understand, but you've done it literally. You've literally replicated it successfully to the point where you can replicate it infinitely. So you can pick a number and you can get there. It's that simple. It's almost mechanics. You can pick the market, do exactly what you do, and replicate that, and then leave it behind and leave on to another and another and another. And that on the calendar, you can predict exactly what's going to happen.
One thing to that point. Sorry, we're going over, but
No, this is going forever.
So my GM here in Phoenix, in 2000, we were doing our budgets, say, September 2017 for 2018, or 2018 for 2019, right? And he puts the budget together, and he puts some menial growth rate on it, like
10 or 15.
10, 15%. But I'm not even interested if it's not over 40. But he puts it together, and he has all his reasons why, and blah blah blah. I said, listen, I'm not accepting this. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go back, and I want you to reverse engineer the business and say, if I wanted to do 50 million from 25, I wanted to do 50 million in 2020, what are all the elements I need? What's the org chart look like? How many trucks do I need? How many calls do I need? What do I need technicians? What's my recruiting plan? What's my retention plan? What's my marketing plan? All the stuff, right? You put that together, and you come back and you show me how you're going to do $50 million in 2020. So he's a little puzzled, but he does it. And he comes back, he's so excited, like, I figured it out. Like, I know I need this many trucks, this many calls, This is this many added people, this many this. He figured it out. I said, okay, that's your goal. So now, he blazed past 2019. He knocked it out of the park, and now he's on pace for this year. But he's clear. I'm doing 50 million. I'm doubling the size of the business in 24 months, and that's what I'm doing. In January, he was 105% up year over year in January. February, he's pacing 100% up year over year. You know why? Because he didn't look at it like, well, I'm gonna grow 10% this year. I said, reverse engineer the business. Say, what would we need to get there? And that's what he's doing.
Well,
but do you realize how significant that is?
Well, that's you stole my thunder because I said I need to get to 1 billion. I need 2,000 technicians. How to get to 2,000 technicians? 50 a month is 600 a year times 3 gets me 1,800. That gets me just under $1 billion. I got that number. Every manager out there will tell you how many technicians we need to get to 1 billion. A year ago, they would have said, you're freaking nuts. There's no way Garage Door Company is going to do $1 billion. I said, so how do we've got a full-time recruiter. We've got a recruiter assistant. We've got 2 full-time trainers. And I said, we got to start marketing for employees. I'll get the jobs. We need the people to run the jobs. So 2,000 technicians with 15 jobs a week gets us to $1 billion.
Wow, I like that. It's nice and clean. And when you break it down to the ridiculous, you could get it done, right? You can see it.
You hear me? This client, who a beloved client, he's done everything I've said until he stopped. Hear me? Did everything I said until he stopped. And the last conversation we had, I said, so what is your plan for next year? He said, well, we're going to grow by 10%. And I said, what do you mean by 10%? He said, I'm really happy where we are. Now hear me, I'm really happy where we are, because where he is so much bigger than where he was. And yet he doesn't then see the possibility of all of the lives that guy could have a profound impact, the families that guy could have a profound impact on, the organizations that get, you understand, he's not called. You're called.
Yeah.
And you're called. But you even don't realize how important it is. So understand, you're called, but you don't really understand how important it is. You don't understand the strategic significance of what you're doing. Because when you do what you're doing and teaching that general manager to do, you're suddenly transforming the reality of ordinary lives in a way they don't even appreciate. And in the process of doing that, you're truly transforming the state of economic development worldwide. Hear me. You are at the core of what my dream, vision, purpose, and mission are. To transform the state of economic development worldwide, by transforming the state of entrepreneurial development worldwide, by transforming the state of small business development worldwide. And in the process of doing that, the contribution you're making everywhere. Understand, everywhere. And that's the story. And I'll stick with it.
I love it.
Because it's doing it. Even while you're sitting here with me speaking, it's having an impact in every community you're in ways you just don't appreciate. I'm here to tell you I appreciate it because it's significant.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you. That's great. I just want to end with one thing. I had a clear picture of what this company was going to be. I had a clear picture in my mind. I said I wanted to grow, and I knew I wanted to be the largest in North America. Now I think in all the world. And I acted like the company I wanted to be. And that's what you talk about in the book. It's funny because have a clear picture in the maturity phase. Act like the company you want to be. And begin to learn the vision of who you're going to become. And that's really what the end in sight of really what we're all preaching here. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And I had a great time. That was a great way to end it.
I want to say, before you end it.
Okay, go ahead.
Before you end it, I want you to remember this. That's your story. So understand, when they ask you to speak at the chamber, when they ask you to speak at the University of Texas, when they ask you to speak here and there, and you should be, in fact, doing that. When they ask you to speak that, you tell this story. Because this story is transforming the state of economic development right here where I live, every single place I am and the places I'm not, because I'm essentially talking about the American dream. That's what makes our country the most successful country ever to have lived and been born on this planet. Think about that. At the heart of it is the heart of an entrepreneur, and at the heart of that is God. So hear me, that's what we've been told from the very beginning. At the center of this is my passion for life in a way that nobody can take away from me. And that's what we intend to bring every place we go. And that's what you do, and that's what you do. And I'm so proud to be a part of it.
I love that. This is great. I'm so glad you guys came today.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Thanks.